Hey there, in this video, I want to be breaking down for you how you can actually start a farm on a budget. Now, a lot of people come to my DM or probably leave comment in the comment section saying that I'm actually interested in farming. I'm actually interested in tomato, cucumber, bell pepper, whatever form of farming, right? And I do not have so much capital. I do not have so much money, but I'm really interested in this. How do I go about it? Well, search no further. In this video, I'm going to be telling you how you can start farming with as low as $50, right? Somewhere around 70,000 naira. You can actually start a farm, right? It's all about doing it within your budget, and I'm going to be leading you and showing you step by step how you can execute that. But guess what? I'm not going to be doing that from the comfort of my studio. I'm going to be doing that on the farm, right? So I don't know. Maybe I'm more inspired when I'm on the farm, all right? All right, so watch this. Hello, guys. Welcome to the farm. So, on today's episode, basically, I really want to discuss this. I'm doing this at the farm because sometimes I feel like it's more relatable. All right. So, today's episode is basically about giving you a breakdown of how you can engage in farming with little or no capital. One of the things I get a lot with a lot of people is that oh, I want to engage in farming and I don't have capital or I don't have much money. How can I start small? Well, this video is simply about how you can actually start a farm with little capital and actually make it work, because trust me, most of the big farmers that you see out there, I doubt if all of them started very big. I doubt if all of them started farming with a very large scale, right? Like I always tell people, the only thing that starts from the top, from up and goes down is a grave, right? But every other good thing in life, you start somewhere and then you grow. Now, somewhere or what is little, what is small is relative. What is small to me might not be what is small to you, right? Now, a starting capital that is small for someone like me might be 500,000 naira, a million naira, or 2 million naira, right? And then for some other person, a starting capital that is considered small might be 200,000 naira, or might even be 50,000 naira or 300,000 naira. But regardless of where you are starting, in this video, I'm just going to be giving you a few tips here and there, right, that will just enable you understand how you can go about your farming, with little or no hassle. Right now, the first thing I would say, particularly if you don't have money and you want to engage in farming, is I would say this very, very important: get knowledge. Now, I know this sounds like a cliche to many people, because oftentimes when you tell people get knowledge, they probably think you're saying that because you want them to pay for consultation, or you want to get trained. I really don't care, right? You can anywhere you want to get trained. The most important thing is get knowledge. Do I offer trainings? Yes, I have a lot of people currently on my list that I offer consultation and training and all that, but you don't have to think about me when you think about that, right? You can get there, but you must make sure you have to get trained and get proper knowledge. Now, I am saying that do not delegate knowledge, right? Even if you want to get a manager to manage your farm for you or something, you personally need to have a level of expertise, a level of understanding of how it works. Because if you don't, chances are that the person you eventually get who is good at it might just end up might be fine and then maybe defraud you when something is supposed to be done for a $50. He will charge you maybe $100, $200, but because you don't know, you're just going to pay. But if you know, you have a knowledge of how it works, then you can be able to confront him and say, oh, come on, it's not that expensive. I know how this costs, right? Even if you're not 100% on ground to manage your farm, right? So number one thing is get knowledge. Very, very, very important. And then number two, you must make sure that you control your greed. Now, the aspect of controlling greed is such that, and this happens to a lot of people, is something that I have encountered also, or not. If I say greed is a very strong word, or lower your expectation, let me put it that way, right? Because a lot of people tend to come into farming, and because of the stories they've heard, because of how people have pitched it to them, how people have patronized them over farming, they just assume that it's a get rich quick scheme. And if I come this year or more, by next year like this, I'm a millionaire, I'm a multi-millionaire. Now, am I saying that you cannot become a multi-millionaire in 1 year in farming? Absolutely possible. But should that be your expectation and your approach towards farming? No, because oftentimes what this does is that even when you have limited capital, right, and you're starting small, what that does to you is that it will put you in a position where you want to do more with little, and that never ends well. It was always never a good ending, right? Because you know the capital that you have at your disposal is maybe $200, $300, right? And I'm using dollars because it's a universal currency, and everybody can relate to that. Be you a Nigerian, a South African, a Namibian, a Ugandan, anywhere right around the world, right? You have little capital, but because your expectation is significantly high, you instead of you to do half a plot of land or a quarter of a plot, right? You go on and do 4 plot of land, 5 plot, 10 plot, an hectare, an acre, because you want to make so much money, but you fail to consider that you have little capital. And farming is capital intensive, right? Now, so you need to cut your coat according to your size, or cut your size according to the coat at hand. I always say that, right? So reduce your expectation. You must understand that, particularly your first farming season, every time people say start small and grow, it always sounds like a cliche. Oh, did you start small? But oftentimes it's an advice that never goes out of style, right? So you must get experience. You must make sure that you reduce your expectation. The second thing I want to say very primarily is that if you're starting small, there are a couple things that you cannot do except if you have access, which is what I always say: source to water. If you're farming anything arable farming, perishable, cucumber, bell pepper, tomato, habanero pepper, hot pepper, any form of perishable farming that you're engaging in, you would agree with me that water is a very essential part of that farming. Now, I'm mentioning water because I can mention I can skip any other thing, any other necessary thing or ingredient for farming, but I'm not going to skip water. That's particularly, oh my, so sunny. That's particularly because water is at the heart of everything. So if you're starting very little, you don't have so much capital, then I would advise you not to farm any other season but rainy season, right? Why? Because you have access to rainfall. Now you can see on the video displaying across the screen that this is our cucumber farm, the one I'm currently on right now. And one thing that's happening on this farm right now is that you can see our drip tapes. You can see the watering. Now also I'm showing on the video here that we just watered a few minutes ago, but whilst we were watering, it started raining, or drizzling I may say, and so we necessarily didn't need to water, right? Because eventually we had rainfall, which is sufficient enough to carry our farm through. So if you're farming on a budget, one thing you must consider is forget about farming any other season. Just focus on rainy season, because a couple things that you need is either a borehole, a lake close to your farm, or a well. You must have access to water one way or the other. And oftentimes farm is hardly close to residential environments if you want to get a good plot, and by so you need water. So if you don't have water, what do? You lean towards nature, which is using rainfall, right? So that's what I would say. And then the next thing I would say is make sure that you put pen to paper. That's literally like the last thing I would say. Put pen to paper. Make sure you write down. All right, speak to professionals, speak to people who have been in the game long enough, right? And you can ask them, okay, this is what I want to do, this is how much money I have at hand, what do you think this would cover for me? They can tell you, they can hypothetically tell you the cost of things. Oh, you get your seedlings for this amount, you need to get chemicals, so this chemical will last you this long, you would use it this number of times every week. By the second week this chemical should be exhausted, so you need to buy another one. So they can run you through, for instance, if it's tomato, it's a 90-day period of time, right? From nursery up until the start of harvest, it's 90 days. You would start seeing fruit way before the 90th day. but you can start harvesting at most 90 days. You should start harvesting if you practice good agricultural practices. Carry out good agricultural practices, you should start harvesting within 90 days. So you get a skilled person, and this is where experience comes to play. If what you have at hand is $100, you can start with that. Have a conversation with someone who has been in the game. Now they can tell you this is how much $100 would cope. This is how much land $100 can sustain you for, right? I have a lot of people that come to me and tell me, oh, I have £1,000,000 Nigerian naira, which is somewhere around $500, right? And say $500 to $600, and then I break that down for them, and I tell them, okay, with this amount of money, you can't do more than this plot of land. With this amount of money, this is how much plot of land you can cover. So do not overshoot, right, your budget. So they usually stay within that constrained budget, and it works eventually, right? So you need to have to speak to someone regardless of how much, right? You can start somewhere. Do not wait for tomorrow. Farming, one thing with money is that there's this saying that any money that does not have vision will perish. So that money you're saving right now and you're choosing not to use because you're scared, you're wondering, you might end up spending it on something else that might not yield anything, right? So go on and start anyway. It doesn't matter how small. After your first farming season, you've gained more experience, you most likely have more money because you've harvested your crop. Then you can think about investing and maybe just increasing your size a little bit, and then with more profits and more knowledge, you grow and grow and grow, and then before you know it, you're able to do bigger size like us, 10 plots, 15 plots, 30 plots, 100 plots, and maybe even 100 hectares, 1,000 hectares, right? So that's my 2 cents about starting a farm on a budget, right? See you in my next video.